Beginning transmission 126. Southern Bastards. File under sports ball.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't start some shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater Podcast.
面白い本と歌手ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions.
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit. Here is a drinking game to play while you listen to this episode. Please drink responsibly, and don't take it too seriously. And if you don't like it, blame William.
Take a drink anytime Mr. Porg decides to interject himself into the conversation. Shut up, Porg.
You need to take a drink anytime Manny Bothands makes an appearance, and I get groans and fuck yous from Adam and Maya.
Fuck Manny Bothan!
Manny Bothan is pure genius. Take a drink anytime someone refers to me as the cum dumpster.
Take a drink every time the Shame Bell makes an appearance.
Also, take a drink anytime we act like the Member Berries from South Park. Remember when they were on South Park?
I remember.
Yeah, and take a drink every time we do the bad German accent, yeah.
Ah, drink, fucker!
If you have any suggestions for rules you would like to add, email us at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com or use the contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com.
Well, and Maya, as you were talking about changing Adam's name in your phone, one drunken night when I was in college, I decided I was going to give everyone on my phone, like, jazz, blues singers' names and things like that.
Oh, honey.
And I, for about a week, I had to start figuring out who the fuck was texting me or calling me. Because I had, like, all these weird names. Like, I give people names like
Miles
Bad
and
Knees
Busy.
McGillicuddy or whatever. I don't know. I made up a bunch of, like, it was all like you know,
Pillowface Jenkins?
yeah, it was all that kind of shit, right? So it's just like,
Right, so back in college, we had this roommate we nicknamed Nancy.
yeah,
Nancy was a piece of work.
yes, he was.
And Nancy had gone out and bought, like, this 100-disc DVD player.
I remember this.
I remember those.
And
I was
he-
always very confused as to why.
And he'd
Because
gone
you're too
through...
fucking lazy to open a DVD case.
That's right. So he'd gone through it, but he really wasn't savvy with it. And I think it was mostly Tyson.
Yeah.
One. And this is why Tyson,
I thought
forever my
he paid
hero.
Tyson.
He went in and renamed...
Hold up then.
Okay.
I think he originally actually paid Tyson, or offered to pay Tyson, to put the names in on the player. And Tyson figured out how to do it. And then when he didn't pay, Tyson decided to get revenge because he didn't fucking pay up. And that's why I think he did what you're about to discuss.
So Tyson went in with all these movies and he put porn movie name versions for every single one of them. But it would display in that really big LCD screen. It would be Shaving Ryan's Private for Saving Private Ryan.
Jane and her giant peaches.
And but he did it for all of them. And Nancy Boy could not figure out how to change it. So he had, and this was a guy who took out a loan from the bank and then decided to tell everyone he sold a script. And that is
I remember this. You told me that part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was probably like, well, I sold a script. That's why I got this oversized television. I think I loved his little stereo that had boom tubes on it.
Okay, that was the thing too. Is like, okay, so I'm a sound design major, and I don't
take you to Apocalypse, where Darkseid is.
A little bit, I guess.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I didn't necessarily like the guy, but I would have prevented him from buying a shitty sound system. So he spent like all this fucking money on this like big fucking TV and this multi-disc thing, and then bought like basically like a bookshelf stereo system to go with it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I would have at least prevented you from buying something that fucking stupid, like, to be honest with you. But
well, there was our neighbors downstairs that took that big old car subwoofer and hooked it up to their TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And then we had the Utah Opera people staying there over the summer.
Yep.
And my buddy Josh, he had this good subwoofer, and they would bitch nonstop about him playing his music too loud, which he was. But the one day they came out, it's like, we need to see this. Josh had sent his stereo back in to get warranty serviced. So he had these like little tin can speakers, and they're like, "This is your stereo system?" And Josh is like, "Yeah, this is my stereo system." And then the front office proceeded to ignore the opera singer staying up there for the rest of the summer.
And I worked for that opera company, and those opera singers were fuckers, so they should have ignored them anyway.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of fuckers, hey, we're here.
Hey,
I'm more of a fuck him.
You don't even know what he looks like.
He's asleep in the bedroom right now. I'm very sure I know what he looks like.
There you go.
Okay, anyway. So welcome to episode 126 of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. This is the second book in our sports ball month. We are doing
Go Team Go!
Sports. This is football week, kids.
Football.
Football. The football.
The foosball.
The foosball.
You've been playing the foosball behind my back?
The foosball.
Foosball's the devil.
The devil. So we have the devil himself, Mr. Adam.
Actually, I've been going by Blue-Haired Faggot recently, so... I have,
your blues name?
That's my blues name. Jeez. Hey, what's up,
everyone? Hold on. Can you imagine being like a musical artist and like a rap artist and going on tour as that name and just watching promoters be like, excuse me, what?
We can't say that.
Yeah.
I'm going to try a little deafness here. Speak a little louder next time.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? I'm the reviews editor for Big Shiny Robot. I also do stuff with the Bored as Hell podcast, sometimes with Andy Wilson.
Hi, sometimes Andy.
Hey, sometimes Andy. Also over on Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hi, Chris.
And aside from that, you can find me driving around and doing shit, and also curating our Grindr, Scruff, and Types of the Z account. Also find me on Twitter at Sithbot, SITHBOT_.
So, with the nickname you're going by, you need to figure out how to put like guy in there and work so you can be the BFG.
The BFG.
That'd be pretty tight.
The blue faggot gay.
The blue faggot gay.
I'm going to go with the blue fucking gay.
The blue fucking gay, yeah.
There you go.
The blue
BFG.
The blue fairy gay.
Blue fairy gay.
Actually, what's really funny is though I played Doom when it first came out, like way back in the 90s, because my pastor played it, so I was allowed. I remember. That was the same pastor who went to jail for hundreds of years for molesting kids. But my parents let me play it because the pastor was playing it. And the big gun in the game back then was called the BFG, and I had no clue what that stood for. Big fucking gun. I learned that later on. So I also just learned in the last year or so that it's pronounced quinoa, not quinoa. So
just for the last year, you just found that out?
Yes.
Or how about hors d'oeuvres?
Actually, no, I knew about
horse duvers.
I knew about hors d'oeuvres. I didn't know about ennui. I thought it was Inwa. Or
ennui.
Ennui. See, I even realized I said it wrong.
Ennui sounds like a multi-level marketing scheme.
It really does.
Well, we aren't in Utah.
It's true.
But that's for 90th South and further down
that's
there.
True.
That's the line, is 90th South is the headquarters down there.
Shut up,
Currently
CDA.
selling for Ennui, we have Mr. Maya.
Hey, I'm Maya.
I'm a Maya.
Hey.
It's me, I'm Maya.
Catch me on Twitter at Mr. Maya. That's MRMIAH. Or Instagram at the Mr. Maya. Let's talk about things. It'll be lovely.
But just things now.
Just things.
I would share my Tumblr.
It doesn't even have to be geeky things. Just whatever. I'll talk to you.
Smart things?
I would share my Tumblr, but it's all just porn. Like
That's
hardcore gay porn.
I remember going to those gay sites with you. No, what was that?
No, it wasn't me.
Was that Brian? We were over here? You had made some comment to a gay website, so I typed it in.
No, I wasn't there for that.
Oh, it was Bad Puppy.
Yes.
It was Bad Puppy, yeah, because we were there. Yeah,
Bad Puppy.
Bad Puppy.
Oh,
Badpuppy.com, yeah.
Don't do that, Maya.
Turn safe search off.
It's never on.
This safe search is never on. It's Mr. Todd.
Why, hello there. You know, I never let anyone look at my phone. Hi, I'm Todd. You can find me here on the Funny Books and Firewater podcast as a co-panelist. And I'm also on English Class Hooligans with our producer here, Brian, and my better half, Amy.
Hi, better half, Amy.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, there's a tick.
Hey.
Do I want to click on Enter Bad Puppy?
No.
Yes,
Well, maybe he does. So, and we now have Mr. Maya talking about things.
It's going to say Tan France.
Tan France.
From Queer Eye.
I don't know Tan France from Queer Eye. See the Salt Lake one?
Yes.
Okay. I'm familiar with Salt Lake. But yeah, that's me. See me in Salt Lake. Come say hi.
I'm familiar with Salt Lake, the city you currently are in. I'm familiar with it.
I'm familiar.
I remember.
Okay, and hey, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based in Southern California, and
don't sound so thrilled.
Yes. But here in Salt Lake, we drive on the I-15 and the Bangerter and the 201.
Todd was giving me shit about the fact that I say "duh" in front of all the freeways because I live in California.
That's how you're supposed to say it. Because I say it the same way. That's how you can tell we're from California, because we say it the right way.
It's the I-15, it's the 215, it's the Bangerter, it's the Redwood Road. What is this shit?
The problem is I've done that enough around my...
No, what is this the shit?
That's true. Mr. Maya will be here next week, and then he'll do the same thing from here on out.
You need to do that because it's funny.
Anyway, also, you can find it on YouTube, I'm sure. There is a Saturday Night Live sketch called The Californians, and basically it's a soap opera, and they just argue about directions as to where to get places and how bad the traffic's going to be. So anyway, we are doing the sports ball this week with the football. This is a book that Mr. Maya has probably for a year tried to get me to read, I am sure. And when I finally read it, I really dug it. So when we decided to do some sports ball, I said, well, we're going to do some Southern Bastards.
That's right.
Like Jason Aaron and Jason Latorte. Jason Aaron, I know he did Scalped. He did. He's doing the run of. He was doing the run of.
He's written Thor for many years. He is still writing
did the Star Wars books when they first started.
He's currently also writing Avengers. He
kind of looks like Thor.
He's done it all.
Jason Latorte, I wasn't familiar with, or Latour.
Jason Latour created Spider-Man.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yep.
Latour.
I kept calling it Latorte. I added the T, and I don't know why.
There's no T in it.
La Croix, darling. La Croix.
La Quinoa.
La
Quinoa.
So, of course, if we're going to be reading a book on this show, we need drinking games.
And now for sports.
Listen up, sports fans. Prepare yourself and your liver for this week's drinking game. Remember, it's only a game, and a dumb one at that. So don't take it too seriously, and above all else, please drink responsibly.
That sounds like you've already started.
I know, you're having a good time.
I'm claiming nothing. Mr. Todd, what is your drinking game rule?
Every time the coach is an asshole, you need to take a drink.
Do you have a name for it?
Just like high school.
Put me in, coach.
Put me in, coach. Yes. But every time the dude's like, wow.
What if I mistyped that as put it in me, coach?
Put it in me, coach.
You're not a priest.
So you mean anytime he opens his mouth?
Sure.
Pretty much.
We're having a good time here. Adam
was going to do the same one as me, and then he was nice enough to come up with a second drinking game rule. So Adam, why don't you go with yours then?
So mine is called, I'm not a teenager, but I play one on TV. Every time you see someone who's supposed to be a teenager, but they look like they're in their 30s and methed out.
Okay.
That's just called Southern High School. They get held back. So they're bigger.
It's also called how you end up with 30-year-olds playing college football for BYU.
Yes. Well, that's because they keep failing 6th grade.
That's true, too. So mine is... Adam was going to call it Speak Softly and Carry a Big Stick. I call mine I Got Wood, which is whenever someone gets hit by the stick or a baseball bat, take a drink. And Mr. Maya, what is your drinking game rule?
Mine's called You Ain't From Around Here. Basically, anytime someone in town tells Earl that he needs to leave or get out of town, take a drink.
Get her done.
They took her gerbs.
They took her gerbs.
Took her gerbs.
Okay. So should we try to do the votes the same way we did last time, even though it was a failure the last time when we're all voted at the exact same time?
Sure.
Okay.
Do it.
Okay, so on the count of 3, we will all state yes or no whether or not we believe that it is worth you, our dear listeners, hard-earned time and money and effort to go hunt this book down and read it and all that stuff. So,
or it's free on Comixology Unlimited.
Okay. However you want to consume said book, whether or not we believe it is worth your time to do so. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, yes.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. It's yes.
I was like, that was the time I was like, that was definitely Maya saying no, and I'm calling bullshit on that one. Well, cool. So, Mr. Maya, since you're the one who got me into this, is there anything that people should know going into this?
No, I mean it's a volume 1 of a whole series, so you don't really need to know anything. The book will tell you exactly what you need to know. Just know that it's set in the South and deals with an older gentleman going back home for the first time in a long time, and the shittiness of what some small towns in the South can be. I'm not going to say all, because I'm from the South, and not all small towns are shitty towns, but yeah.
Well, it also doesn't necessarily have to be the South.
Yeah. Sure, there's shittiness everywhere. So, you done did a good job, Ron.
Well, as I was talking about something similar with my brother-in-law who lives in Texas, and he was talking about the small towns where if you lose the season, suddenly your house catches on fire and the fire department's too busy to come help put it out.
Yes.
As well it should be.
That's how it goes.
Because the football is more important. The thing that always cracked me up, I don't know if this happened to anybody else, but the thing that always cracked me up is so I grew up Mormon. I'm obviously not a good Mormon now, although that is apparently a derogatory term, as I learned last week.
Mormon, please.
Mormon, please.
So anyway, there were some people that I went to church with who, if BYU lost on Saturday, they would not show up to church on Sunday. And I'm like, you really think God gives a flying fuck about football or basketball and whatever the case is?
I saw one meme, it was just this, like, how do you think you're doing? He's like, well, I'd like to blame God for my loss of this football game today.
No,
they're
it's
blaming God.
It reminds me of that George Carlin bit where he's talking about how come, God's always mentioned when a sports team wins, never mentioned when they lose. Never, right. You never hear a quarterback saying, "Oh, God tripped me up behind the line of scrimmage."
Yes.
God does that though, because he's a bastard.
She is.
Oh, she is. That's right. It's true. As played by Alanis Morissette, or may actually be Alanis Morissette. You never know.
It still could be.
I've never seen the two of them in the same room, so
valid point.
That's right. I'm not saying that she is God. It's just
It's just that's the only option I can think of at this point.
That's right.
Logic would dictate.
Who else could it be? Could be a 93-year-old man.
Could be. It could be Stan Lee. We'll never know.
He's still kicking it.
Yeah. See, I'm just saying.
Right.
It could be.
Yeah, someone stole his blood. I found that a fascinating little...
That was fucking weird, man.
That was odd. So, sorry, Stan. That's fucked up.
It is fucked up.
Should we go to break and let the fine listeners read the book and then come back and talk about it?
Is that what you would like to do, Maya?
Sure.
You sure? I want to make sure you're comfortable with it. Are you going to be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so Maya says we should go to break, so we're going to let you read this book.
Okay, let's go to break. Well, what does Pork think?
Never should have said the drinking rules, because now you guys trying to milk them all.
See, Pork members, we should go to break.
Fine then. We're gonna go to break, and we will. I got nothing. We'll discuss this when we get back, I guess. Right? I'm gonna have a stern talk.
Oh wait! We never said it. Oh yeah, we did.
What did we miss?
I'm tired and I have a headache. I thought we didn't give our votes as to whether we should rate it or not, and then I realized we did. Don't.
We did. While I was sitting CDA, we gave that vote.
Don't mind me.
Are you no longer sitting CDA?
Oh, yeah.
I am.
He's actually inched closer.
I am. I inched back and forth. I've got my wallet on my left hiney, and I'm trying to not to go numb buns.
Oh, okay.
That's the best album title.
Numb buns is coming to Warped Tour next year.
Okay, wait. I got my wallet on my hiney, and I'm not trying to go numb buns?
I got my wallet
in my left hiney,
and I'm trying not to go.
That's why I've been inching over. As you reposition yourself.
It's like I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Got my wallet on my honey and my honey on my mind.
Oh, my head hurts, but it's so funny. Ow.
That album's coming out next year, ladies and gentlemen.
I can use many of my both hands and give you a shoulder rub.
Drink.
Now, you just need to say that in a German accent, and you got almost everything in there.
I know.
Yeah, I'll have a drink. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have a stern talking to these gentlemen, about not trying to kill our listeners with the drinking game. Rat bastards. Okay, we'll see on the flip side.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
When you have kids, it's almost impossible to find time to catch up on all your geeky obsessions. Comic books, TV, movies, games. We get it. Geek Parenting Podcast understands your pain, and we are here for you. We're geeky parents just like you, and we come together once a week to talk about what it's like to raise your little geeklings while staying true to your fandoms. New episodes every week. Find Geek Parenting Podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. Follow us on social media at Geek Parenting Podcast. Sorry, Stefan.
Yeah, we're back and we're rolling.
Where are we rolling to?
We're rolling on the river like the football players. So this is a book. I can't keep doing that for very long.
But it's not a big.
Not a big. No, it has the pictures in it.
The bookie pictures.
So this is a perfect book for the people portrayed in it.
I'll be honest with you, there's some bigger words than the people who are portrayed in this could probably read, to be honest with you.
They use them fancy $10 words.
They do use them fancy $10 words. Okay, well, who wants to do a quick summary of this?
Earl comes back to town.
Uh-huh.
He's old man.
Earl Tubb.
He's been gone since the Vietnam War when he left home because he hated his father, who was a sheriff and who used to beat people up with a bat, kind of like Negan does.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So he comes back because his dad died a long time ago, and the guy who was living there is now in assisted living. So his plan is just to get all the shit out of the house and get out of town. He ends up getting involved in some shenanigans. The coach of the football team is doing evil things, and
he's basically like the
crime lord,
the crime boss.
Yeah, and he's got the kids on the football team doing all his dirty work. Earl steps in to stop this guy from getting killed, beats up the kids in this diner, like it's a barbecue place, like throws a fryer full of oil in one of those, and beats him up with a fryer basket. And then he's like, nope, fuck, I'm gonna go home.
So there's also a little kid who lives next door who's been coming over to his house to watch TV.
Because his mom doesn't let him watch
the devil's on TV.
The devil's TV, whatever. And the kid is sort of trying to defend Earl because Earl's been nice to him. The gangsters end up beating up the little kid, which is sort of the last straw for Earl.
Which the gangsters are current and former football players for the coach.
Yeah. So, and the coach also owns a barbecue restaurant.
Owns a barbecue restaurant that he beat the kids up in. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he basically decides that he's going to take it out and like he's going to finish this off. And so he ends up getting there's a tree that's struck by lightning, and he takes the stick off of that and is going to go beat everybody up. If that hasn't already happened, that happens at some point in time in there. And then the bat that the police, the Earl's dad, when he was a cop, used to use to beat people up, is actually in the restaurant, and so they end up fighting.
And the coach beats the fuck out of him and kills him.
Yeah, and the coach kills him in broad daylight right there on the sidewalk. And then, and throughout the entire book, Earl's been calling and leaving voicemail messages for you're not quite sure who it is. And then you find out at the very end, after Earl's dead, you finally see that it's his daughter who's been away in the military, who finally got all of his voicemails. And she is calling and, saying that she's going to be coming home. So that leads you into the next book. Mr. Adams, since you hadn't read this before, what are your thoughts?
So actually, I had read the first two issues. So when this first came out, I had some friends who were saying, like, you need to go read this book. It's fantastic. It's amazing. And I would have read more of it, but just back when I had like 50 comics in my hold. So I didn't have time to go through and read all of them that I wanted to. And actually, all these comics found a home with the Watchtower Cafe, and hopefully made it to some soldiers overseas who can read some comics. I liked it a lot, actually. I think it's a really engaging, interesting story. I'm not from the South, so I'm not as familiar. I obviously understand the draw of Friday Night Lights, like in Texas and everywhere else, where your high school football games are the biggest deal. And I thought it was kind of interesting that the main bad guy is the coach of this team, and that in a sense, because the whole town loves the team so much that they'll let him do whatever he wants. Like, Earl tries to go to the cops, and the cops are like, oh, well, like, you have proof that these guys went out there and killed someone. It's like, oh, well, did you see it? He's like, well, no, but he showed up dead and was, like, pointing at them saying they did it, and, like, you're not going to believe him. And it just shows the power that one person can have in a small town mentality where, because, he's running this thing well, we can let him do what he wants, then everyone ends up fearing him. So it was kind of, like, fun to see, kind of like a Sopranos Godfather-ish thing, but put down, like, in the Deep South, where we don't really have much experience with that. Mafia, like a mafia in the Deep South. And I loved the fact that Earl died at the end, because you go and you don't expect that. And I'm a big fan of stories that end with unhappy endings, because we always expect that they'll be happily ever after, blah, 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 this and that, and you don't get that at all with this story. And so that was really interesting. I'm intrigued to see what happens now, the fact that the person he was calling the whole time was his daughter. I assumed it was like his wife or something like that.
And she was also not the same color skin as him.
No, she's not. So obviously he either married or
when she shows up, that's probably going to cause an issue in that town.
Exactly. And I want to see, she's in the Army or the Marines or something. So is she Special Forces? Does she have any kind of skills that would help her get revenge on her father? Is she even going to try to get revenge?
Is she as much of a badass as her father?
Exactly. He died, so hopefully she's more of a badass than he was. But it was cool. I like the kind of turn where, as Maya mentioned, his daughter was a person of color. So obviously his wife or someone he was with kind of blew away the stereotype of racism. Well, not stereotype, but the racism we see inherent in a lot of a lot of America, but also the South. And I do kind of want to see where this goes. I don't know if I'm going to rush out immediately and get the next trade, but I can see now why everyone was saying, like, you need to read this book, why it's so important. And even friends who lived in, like, kind of south of Salt Lake, Utah, growing up down there, they said there's a lot of similarities from small town USA to maybe not quite as systemic racism is in this book, or that we're assuming is going to come from this book. But I don't know, it was interesting. It took me places I didn't know where it was going to go, and that's always exciting when I can read something and not know what the next page is going to bring.
Yeah. As of right now, there are 4 volumes.
Yeah, so the 4th one just came out a few weeks ago as we record this.
So, and that would bring you current, because there have only been 20 issues. This book's been going on for a little while. It kind of runs at the pace of, Jason Aaron and Jason Latour both are doing, like, Marvel work and other stuff, so it's kind of as they can work on it together. That way it's not rushed, and that way they both get to keep working on it. But
the beauty and terrible thing of Image Comics right there.
Yeah.
You could also tell he's from Marvel because the trades are 4-issue trades. They're a little bit shorter.
I wouldn't really say that's a Marvel thing. I mean, Marvel's usually 6 issues.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's probably just because it's probably easier for them to do 4 issues at a time. And I would assume they wait until they have a 4-issue arc done, and then they publish it.
That makes sense, too.
But, and that's just me speculating. I don't know for sure. But, I also really like, at the beginning, there's actually a couple of notes from Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. And Jason Aaron talks about growing up in the South, and he talks about how he loves it, but the South is also a terrifying place at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you're not part of the inn.
And then I like at the back, I can't remember if it was his grandmother or his mother, but there's a
recipe for fried apple pie.
Fried apple pie.
A lot of butter, I'm sure.
All the butter.
A lot of butter.
Butter.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got to get all that water moisture out, so you got to get the butter in.
The other thing that is kind of fun that I like personally, because I'm a fan of the Carolina Panthers, there's a player on the Carolina Panthers actually writes the foreword for the second volume of the second trade. Just kind of interesting as well. Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool. So
actually, so it's Betty Aaron, Jason's mom, her recipe, and there's no butter.
No butter?
4 medium-sized apples, peeled and sliced, half cup of sugar, quarter teaspoon of ground allspice, a 1/3 cup shortening, 2 cups of self-rising flour, and 2/3 of a cup of cold water.
Oh, they're just using shortening right there. All right. But, no, I do love it. It's the art itself is quite emotional and whatnot. It's graphic and chunky and raw, but it really gets the attitudes across and everything else. And talk about, I mean, there's nothing that says craggled old man through a Picasso lens like this book does. I really
yeah, definitely.
Mr. Latour's art on this. But yeah, I was reading up Jason grew up in Alabama where this is located, and so it's probably not exactly like where he grew up, but I'm sure tonally and everything else, it just has this ring of truth and authenticity to it that is quite refreshing, and it's not like you've got some New York writer trying to pretend what it is to be down south.
Yeah.
I really like that the first thing that you see in the book is a dog taking a big old steamy shit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's one way to start.
Happens a couple times throughout the book, too.
So.
Yeah. This is sort of on topic in a weird, interesting way. You know the phrase, you can't go home again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know what that actually comes from?
No.
I forget.
It's a title of a book by it's Thomas Wolfe, not Tom Wolfe. Tom Wolfe is the New York writer. Thomas Wolfe was a writer, and he was raised in North Carolina. And he had written a book called Look Homeward Angel, which basically talked about his parents ran a boarding house. And so he had done slightly fictionalized versions of his hometown and the people who lived in his boarding house. And the people were really insulted by their depiction in a national book. So he tries to come back home thinking that everyone's going to love him now that he's a big writer. And they're all fucking pissed off about it. And so then his next book was entitled You Can Never Go Home Again. And so it was like, well, okay, you can never go home again if you air all the dirty laundry of your hometown. You know what I mean? So, but because it's a story that takes place in North Carolina, it was just kind of one of those interesting things of kind of ties into this as well, where the South will kind of be like, no, you let out all our dirty little secrets, you can go fuck yourself now, kind of thing, which it's just kind of interesting. So,
sure. Yeah, you've got this tight-knit community that chooses not to talk about its dirty laundry, and where people in authority get looked the other way. And this is a great classic example of the abuse that is allowed. I mean, don't have to look at very many headlines today to see examples of, well, how did this guy get away with it for so long? And this really paints a picture of just how it works is, oh, he's really good at this thing that we all like, so we'll ignore the other things.
Yeah. He's really good at manipulating his kids or his players or his students.
Yeah, he gets results, so we put up with it because he gets results.
Well, and he mind fucks them enough that they still follow him even after they're out of school.
Right.
You know?
And that's crazy.
Well, so I actually think even on this episode I spoke before about how growing up Southern Baptist that my coach and everything for school was a pastor of the church who is now in jail for molesting kids. And when that broke when I was in high school, it was after I'd left that school and that church. Even then we still had friends who were a part of it who were saying like, oh no, we shouldn't get the police involved, we should just discipline him within the church. You come to find out that's what had happened his whole life. And so he actually started out on I think he might have even been North Carolina, where most child molesters and most people who are doing horrible things like that, they are repeat offenders. It's like a one-time thing and it stops. But that was the idea of the church because they looked up to him so much, and because he had been such a quote-unquote positive influence on their lives, that their idea was, okay, well, we can just handle this within this. Like, well, no, he broke the law. Like, you don't get to sit back and be like, oh, well, we'll demote him or something.
What are you, vigilantes, taking the law into your own hands?
That's kind of what it was, but it wasn't like they were going to do anything. They were just going to demote him or fire him.
Just give him a little slap on the wrist?
Or something, yeah.
A lot of them forget.
Slap on the dick?
Well, you give up unto Caesar, which is Caesar's. But basically it's like, yeah, you've got your religious thing you've got to hide to, but wherever laws of the land and the taxes, you pay the taxes, you follow the rules. It says if you fuck up here, you got to answer for it.
Yeah, but I can...
So, and people try to avoid that.
But I can easily see how people in that kind of situation, not so much even in this book, but just in general, how they could react the way they do. And I know if it's a foreign concept to you, you've never been... Because even where I grew up now, now it's a big city, but back when I was there, it was 10,000 people, and it was spread over hundreds of square miles. So I lived out in the middle of nowhere. It was a half-hour drive just to get to the city, so you can go see the first McDonald's that went in. Wow. So I grew up on a farm in a really small town, so I get that the whole the other coming in is scary and weird and freaky. It also kind of explains how most people who live in cities are more liberal and we people who live in the country are more conservative, because you're constantly given the other's always in your face, because now you're, look, there's a person of color, there's a gay person, there's this and this. But Yeah, that actually resonated really strongly with me because I've been in a situation where like I was out of it to the point where I was like, no, screw that guy. He needs to go to jail. But the people who were still involved with it intimately just had that separate viewpoint because for them it was like they're, they built this person up on a pedestal and like to have him go to jail would have shattered their dreams and shattered their image of what not the person they believed in, but also the God they believed in.
Right.
And I know this book isn't really religious, but that's just kind of where I saw it coming from.
No, but I mean, it is about small town, though. That's a big part of what this book is about. Is that small town experience and that kind of thing,
So, but that was my fun topic for the book, so.
Okay. Well, do you have a cocktail for the book, sir?
I do, actually. So this one is called Redneck Punch. And the important thing to keep in mind, this does need to be served in a quart-sized mason jar. Very, very important.
Of course it does.
So it's pretty easy. You do 1 ounce of white rum, 1 ounce of peach schnapps, 1 ounce of amaretto, 1.5 cups of cranberry juice. Go ahead and stir it all together. Go ahead and add ice to the brim, and then top it off with 1 cup of lemon lime flavored soda, preferably something off-brand from like a Winco or Walmart.
Okay. That sounds good.
And then you got your Redneck Punch.
That sounds good. I'd drink that shit.
Okay, well, Mr. Todd, what is your cocktail?
Well, mine's more of a shandy than a cocktail.
Ooh, okay.
And what shandy basically means, you're adding lemonade to beer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's your thing of a shandy. So this was called the Full Moon, but it sounds nice and great because lemonade and whatnot is quite the southern thing too. So it's 6 ounces of Mike's Hard Lemonade, 6 ounces of Blue Moon, and you place the hard lemonade in a tall chilled glass without ice, topped with Blue Moon beer, and garnished with an orange wheel. And enjoy. So it actually sounds
for all
great.
you non-fancy folks, an orange wheel is a slice of orange.
Yes, it is. It has a little slice in it, so you can have it on the brim.
I don't know. That might be too fancy. You might want to just float it on top.
Well, we can, but it's like we're going to the big city of Savannah, so we can get ready for that.
Okay. Mine, I'm calling the Runnin Rebs. This is actually an LSU cocktail, but I'm changing it to a Runnin Rebs. I was looking up football cocktails. It's 2 ounces of vodka, a handful of blueberries, 1 pinch of sugar, and 12 ounces of lemonade. You add the vodka, blueberries, and sugar to the bottom of the glass, and you use a spoon to muddle. And it says, or mash everything.
It's a mash. It's the South. Mash it.
Well, because muddle, fancy word.
Yeah.
No.
Just until the sugar has dissolved and the blueberries are broken up. And then you add ice and lemonade, and you stir to mix the vodka soaked blueberries up in with the lemonade. But it'll give you kind of a darker red, depending on how you do it, a red or maybe a blue color. But yeah, I guess you could do it with raspberries, and then you could make it a.
You do it with razzleberries.
Razzleberries. You can do it with the
razzleberries.
You wouldn't want to use a snozberry.
Razzleberries will make it red, so you can have the Running Rebs. But yeah,
you don't want a snozberry.
Razzle dazzle.
I enjoy snozberries, but you as a straight man would not enjoy snozberries.
Really?
I will take your word.
So you guys know what a snozberry is, right?
No.
So Roald Dahl in a future book, a snozberry is his word he came up with for a cock.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Yeah, it's a cock.
That's awesome. The more you know.
Actually, look up Roald Dahl's history. He was a very
he was quite colorful.
Yeah, he would his work he did in World War II was quite interesting.
Yeah, he wrote for Playboy some too.
Yeah, so the fact that a snozberry would be a cock is pretty in line with who he is. So
that's fair. Yeah, it totally changes Super Troopers beginning too. Do you remember that bit? He takes the whole bag of mushrooms because they're getting pulled over by the police. They just come over the border.
Tastes like snow.
So he ingests like an entire bag,
that's right, yeah.
And he is just absolutely tripping balls. And he's like, candy bars. It's just this blank, far out look. And he says, the snozberries taste like snozberries. And then his buddy's like, so you ate all those shrooms. I'm going to need my money from that.
Yeah, exactly.
You owe me. He's like, what the fuck, man?
Mr. Maya, what is your cocktail?
My cocktail is the Alabama Slammer. It's 1 ounce of Southern Comfort, 1 ounce of slow gin, 1 ounce of amaretto, 2 ounces of orange juice. You add all the ingredients into a shaker with ice and shake the shit out of it. Strain it into a highball glass over fresh ice. And then garnish it with an orange wheel and a cherry and serve with a straw.
Nice.
I like the Alabama Slammer.
Unless you're in California, then you don't get a straw.
That is
North Starbucks from 2020. My question is, because Starbucks announced they're getting rid of the straw in 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
How do the Frappuccinos work? I get all the other drinks and working your way there, but if you basically have this shake,
the thing is, I think what it actually is, it's the plastic straws they're getting rid of. I think they're actually looking for like biodegradable versions.
We have some up here already.
Yeah.
Oh, like a soy straw type of a deal.
I've seen them paper as well.
Like a cardboard straw.
It feels like plastic. If you leave it for too long, it'll dissolve.
Right. I've seen like soy plasticware cutlery before, so I wonder if that's how they're going to go. But yeah, so it's like a soy based.
Yeah, something more biodegradable kind of thing.
Right.
So,
not a bad idea, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Because I'm like, how in the world are you gonna drink a shake without a straw?
Well, you've seen the lids they have, right? Like a big mouth on them.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you can like put a Frappuccino upside down and it's not moving anywhere.
I haven't had one either, so I couldn't tell you.
So I love their Java chip. You can send me your check, Starbucks. Thank you.
Just a free lifetime supply of Java chip.
Yeah.
Starbucks.
Do that. It becomes huge.
They really need the advertising. No one's really aware of Starbucks and the Java chip.
Well, between the sips and fizz and jerk off sodas and everything else there. I look at these and like, why are these so popular? Oh, it's Mormon Starbucks.
Yeah, it's a Mormon bar is what it is.
That's their word.
It's Latter-day Saint Starbucks.
Moment, please.
Okay. Well, does anybody else have anything they want to discuss on this book?
No, it's a pretty straightforward story.
Read it.
Yeah, you really did. It's really good.
And it continues to be good, actually. I do want to say anything about the continuation of this?
Sell it to us.
So it's been a while since I've read it beyond this, but I know there's a big story that led up to the homecoming game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then the story after that, or it might even be during the homecoming game, is when Earl's daughter shows up.
She shows up does she finally get to town? I thought she got into town before the homecoming game.
It might be. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've read the stuff after this.
Yeah, because she's the homecoming game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember just reading recently, but I don't remember if that's in Trade 3 or in Trade 4. I thought it was in Trade 4.
I think it's in Trade 3.
Okay. Now I'm trying to remember what's in Trade 4, but I really enjoyed it. After I read this, I marathoned the other ones, and then the fourth one just barely came out, and so I had that on my hold. So I picked that up, but I really enjoyed it as well. So I've had a really good time with it. So
cool.
if you like this book, I recommend the rest of them. It stays consistent. The story goes some interesting places, and it has some interestingly shocking moments here and there. So I think, it gets very Soprano-like at times, I feel. But
nice.
I really enjoyed it. So, well, cool. Then we will roll into grades.
Jamie, school is never a waste of time.
Since we have 15 minutes until recess, please put down your pencils and stare at the front of the room.
It's report card time. It's report card time. It's report card time. I'm so fucking thugged.
God, please, no! 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 No!
For Mr. Aaron for writing, Adam, what is your grade?
I'm going to go with an A. I mean, the story is really well written. It's interesting. It drew me in. You really felt like these characters had depth. I mean, even the really, like, one-dimensional, like, on the football, like, quarterback, I'm going to beat the crap out of this guy. They all were individual and distinct. And, again, it told a story that I could personally relate to in different ways, even though my situation in my life wasn't the same. The themes and everything kind of pulled through just fine, and so I loved it. I can't wait to read more.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it works because, like, even though we don't necessarily have that exact same experience, we've all seen sort of... I mean, it's obviously a heightened experience, but we've all seen sort of similar things of teachers who get away with everything or whatever. So, cool. Mr. Todd, what is your grade for Mr. Aaron?
No, I give it a B+. So it's a good story. It's well executed. I enjoy it thoroughly.
Cool. Mr. Mayo.
I'm there at an A as well, if you probably couldn't guess. This is one of my favorite books being put out. I wish I could say consistently being put out, but yeah, no, I'm at an A.
And I'm gonna probably go with an A-. I still really like it, yeah, it's good, and like Maya, I wish maybe it was published a little more frequently, but that might also make it not as good. I don't know. So
it kind of makes it a little more special when you get it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So for art, for Mr. Latour, what is your grade, Mr. Todd?
I'm also going to give this a B+. I think it goes along perfectly with the writing. It gets the tone across. It's fun. It's very deliberate, and stylistically, I just love it. It's great.
Cool. Mr. Adam.
I'm going to go with a B. The art was very unique and interesting. It wasn't really my style. I didn't quite enjoy that as much as the writing, but it's very... the action scenes play out well, and the art itself seems almost very violent. Like the way it's written, it's very like harsh, and there's no clean lines, and everything looks kind of more haggard. That's why I made my drinking game of, these teenagers look like they're methed out 30-year-olds. But honestly, meth is a hell of a drug. So I'm sure if you're doing meth as a teenager, you're probably going to look like that. It wasn't my favorite part, but it didn't detract from the story. It made it more... It just... The harsh reality of the southern town was more apparent based by how it was drawn.
Cool. And Mr. Meyer?
I'm at an A. I really like the rawness of the art, and I don't think any other style of art would fit this book. You could feel the dirtiness and the griminess and the awfulness of this town just through the art. So yeah, I'm giving it an A.
And I'm gonna also give it. I'll give it a B+. I think you can also tell from this book that Jason Latour did live in the South, and he has a lot of real-world experiences and some emotions tied to the art that he's creating there. It's not somebody creating some sort of fictitious world that they're kind of making up off the top of their head. There's some real reality behind it, and even though it's stylistic, there's a lot of reality to it. I enjoy that. Overall grade, Mr. Maya.
A. I can't say anything more about it. A. Also, real quick though, I did look up. The first issue came out in 2014, and they've only hit 20 issues. So in 48 or so months, we've gotten 20 issues.
Yeah, Mr. Adam.
I'm gonna go with an A-. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I want to go read more. I'm not, I am kind of busy, so I probably won't hop out right now and get the next one. But it kept me entertained. It kept me interested. It was a fun story. The art's not my style, but again, it didn't detract from it. So I had a good time with it.
Cool. And Mr. Todd?
I'm going to give it an A-. I mean, between the art and the writing, they really just sing together beautifully. The story draws you in, the art keeps me going, and I just want more. So A-.
Cool. And I'm going to go with an A- as well. Does anybody have any recommendations for this week?
I do.
All right.
Okay.
Dark Horse is the last few years they've been putting out a bunch of cool different art books for different things like Zelda and other stuff. I just picked up the Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4 art book. It's actually a 2-book set. It's one book is basically like all concept art from all the Metal Gear games except for the 5th one, and the other book is basically like all storyboards and that sort of stuff. And it's if you're into that sort of stuff or really like Metal Gear Solid, check it out.
Cool. Mr. Todd?
If you enjoy reading Southern Bastards, something in a similar kind of vein spiritually in a lot of ways is 100 Bullets. It was written by Brian Azzarello with art by Eduardo Rizzo, and it's also it's a finished run, so it's in 5 collected trades now. Something like that.
Big ones, it's like 13 individual trades.
60,
I'm like on
70 issues in total, I imagine.
I'm on trade 8 right now myself.
All right. But there's, let's say, 60 issues. It's a lot of fun. It's really good. And if you like Southern Bastards, go check out 100 Bullets.
Cool. Mr. Adam.
So this is going to be random again, but as a video game, so EA has a thing on the Xbox where you pay like so much a year, and it's kind of like the Netflix where you can download any game you want on that they have to play for free as long as you have the subscription. Right. It's not like the other ones where you're streaming it. It's actually you download it to your system and you're playing it. Last night I hadn't played it in forever, and I never actually beat it the first time around, but it was Dante's Inferno. It came out on the Xbox 360 and PS3. It was basically kind of a God of War clone, but you're telling the story of Dante's Inferno going down into depths of hell to save the soul of his dear wife Beatrix, whatever her name was. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's definitely derivative of God of War, and it's not the best game out there. But if you like the gothic horror stuff and you are a fan of any kind of following demonology or religion, it's really, really cool. And you can kind of experience the Inferno without having to read, the whole canto by Dante back in the day. So it was fun.
Cool. And it was recommended to me by Adam, and I am playing it a lot right now, so I'm going to recommend. It's way, way, way after the fact. So for some reason you've never played this game, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Oh, it's so good.
I
love Black Flag. It's my favorite of the Ass Creed games.
Yeah, so that's what I've been playing a lot recently. So in fact, actually, probably after we're done here, I'm either going to pop that in or I'm going to pop in a different game. But I'm staring at them right now. They're taunting me.
I love just sailing around and having the sea shanties come up from the crew.
Oh yeah.
What I've been doing a lot, because I've still been on Havana, I haven't gotten a whole ton of playing time in, is if I don't want to do anything, like I just kind of want to wander around, I'll just wander around and try to sync up all the
vantage points,
bird's eye view things. Yeah, the vantage points, and then do the big jump up, or try to chase down. Like I've not caught one of the fucking messengers yet. Like that's been kicking my ass. But those little bastards. Like I'll be going good, and then I'll make one little mistake, and then I'm like, I can't get that fucker. Like, or I'll get close to him, and I don't remember which button I have to hit to tackle the little bastard. So anyway, but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. So if you've never played it, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Well, though, that will do it for us this week. Next week, we are doing another book that Maya has read, Ringside. Mr. Meyer, what is Ringside all about?
It's all about the Rassles. It deals with kind of life behind the scenes in wrestling, and kind of the politics that go on, and deals with people that are past their prime that still hang around, or and having to deal with their spot to new younger talent, and yeah, it's.
But you're saying wrestling isn't real?
It's still real to me.
So I think that'll do it for this week. So next week, join us for Ringside, and for any of those of you who Todd or I saw at Comic-Con, hey, it was nice to meet you.
Cool.
And for any of those of you who are listening to this as the first episode, we're horrible human beings. Welcome to the party.
Yeah, that's right. Drink, you fucker.
So yeah.
Oh look, it's German porg.
Rat bastards. Okay.
Remember when we killed all our listeners with the drinking game?
I remember.
I
remember. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.